Hi, welcome to this Recruit Online and Pinvoicer training session. In this session, we're going to discuss how you enter hours from manual timesheets so that you can pay people and also invoice for those hours. The session does assume that you understand how to get both people, so employees, clients and rates and billing locations all set up in Pinvoicer. If that's something that you don't know, I'd recommend that you have a look at other videos that cover those subjects or the help documentation in Pinvoicer. So in Pinvoicer, the section that we're going to look at is under payroll, and it's the orders section. And the thing to understand with the orders is you're looking at orders that have come from Recruit Online. And in this sense, you're basically looking at orders that have been entered from that previous week. And in the main, the date that you're looking at, so this report date here, will be today's date, and it's going to look at the most recent Sunday preceding that date. And you can use these toggles to go back to previous periods and see the Sundays or other dates for week endings for that date range. And for an order to show up here, naturally it needs to be entered in your front-end system, so predominantly Recruit Online, and so that it will be exported and come across. So if you're looking at a timesheet, say a manual timesheet that you have, and there's not an order here, so the general explanation for that will be that somebody hasn't put an order on in Recruit Online, or it hasn't been exported. So the thing to think about with this particular screen that we're looking at here is that you have the ability to use the filters, and here there's filter by employee, pay codes, etc., and clients. So probably a typical use case is that you've got a pile of timesheets that haven't been entered for a particular customer, so let's say Walker Commercial, and you just want to look at the ones that are yet to be entered. So if I just put hours entered no and filter those, it will take that list and just condense them down to, in this case, 4 hours that have yet to be entered. And from there, you're able to then see, what orders you have specifically for that client and what is outstanding. So to enter hours, so imagine that you've got those manual timesheets and you've extended those hours. When you click on somebody's name, in fact, any of the links up to here comes through to the same screen. You click on that and it will take you to this next screen here. And we're actually going to use the new pay screen. So here it just defaults through and shows you the week ending. So if you did need to change the week ending, that's where you would do it. You can also look at the different pay frequencies for somebody. So generally that's set at the employee level. So if you needed to change that, you could do that. And if it was an adjustment pay, which we'll do a separate video on, you would undertake that. But in this case, we're just going to click on enter hours and then be presented with the hours entry screen for, in this case, a candidate employee called Andrew Roberts, who's working at a Boilermaker at Walker Commercial. Now with this, you'll see that we're looking at basically a weekly entry hours. So this is a summary. So in this case, this person might have done, say, 32 hours of normal time, 3 hours of time and a half, 2 of double, let's say 6 hours on afternoon shift, for example. And as you can see, as I entered each of those figures, it's going to show on the screen the calculations around that. And you've got the pay rate and the charge rate visible in each of those things. And ordinarily, you would have a scenario where you are, entering those hours and you're paying those quantities and charging those quantities. And so you would just click Submit Hours. If you've got other situations where sometimes you're just paying and not charging, you would click that option there, and that would do exactly that. Or alternatively, you may be charging, just creating the invoicing and not paying, you would click that particular selection. You also have the ability, and it doesn't happen too often, but from time to time you'll charge, let's say, 3 hours of time and a half, and for whatever reason you need to bill or pay a different quantity. So if you hit that button there, it will switch on the ability to edit the charge quantities, so it duplicates the quantities that you've entered. And then you might say, look, I'm actually going to charge, in this case, 4 hours of time and a half for whatever extra reason you might have there. So I'll just discard that and go back to where we were. You also have the ability, if there was a PO entered on the order, be it in Recruit Online or subsequently in the previous order screen, it would flow through to the invoice as you'd expect. But sometimes you need to put POs on around different line items. So that might well be around summary for the week, or if this was a daily entered hours, which you'll see in another screen, you'd have POs for each of the days in that instance. So I can, if I had a PO there, I could copy it from the original order and it would go on every one of those lines. So I'll just put that back to there. The other thing that you're able to do is, and again, this may be just on a once-off scenario rather than needing to do it regularly, but you may have an instance where you're changing the pay and charge quantity rates. So if you were needing to do that, you would just click on that and then you'd be able to edit those rates as you need in those cases. So simple, once you've got to the point where you've got your hours set out, the quantities, the rates as you need them, etc., all you do is click Submit Hours and it returns you to that previous screen. And of course now you're only seeing 3 of those orders there because your filter is saying hours entered no, so that one that you've just entered is removed from that screen. So it's very straightforward. I'll leave it to other videos to explain the following steps in terms of payroll and invoicing, but certainly if you have any other questions, have a look at the help text in Pinvoicer Help.